Hey, what's up guys? John here. Everyone's talking about this FDIC video, this leaked video, where they talk about, bail-ins. And if you don't know what a bail-in is, where the bank will bail themselves out of problems with your money. They just bail themselves in and take it, and then, you have no more money. That's essentially what a bail-in is. This was signed into law 12, almost 13 years ago, and it's starting to really ramp up. Now, I watched this video, it went uber viral, everyone was talking about it. But then something else happened, very, very crucial in Europe, the European Banking Authority. And no one's talking about this, which makes this whole picture much more clear. And it makes me see, you know what, maybe this is something that's actually going to happen. Maybe this wasn't just put out as a distraction or fear or to get people's attention, get people talking, or to instigate people to take money out. It wasn't. Maybe this is actually something that's going to happen and they're simply just letting us know. Now, here's what's going on. Please hit the like button, by the way. When you hit the like button, YouTube's going to share this video to educate more people, probably on the same page as you, so more people are aware and they wake up to what's actually happening. Now, a bail-in helps a financial institution on the brink of failure by requiring the cancellation of debts owed to creditors and depositors. Bail-in and bailouts are both the resolution schemes used in distress situations. Bailouts help to keep creditors from loss, while bail-ins mandate that creditors take losses. Well, February 13th, EBA, the European Banking Authority, they said EBA asked authorities to increase transparency on the approach to bail in case of banking failure. Bail in case of banking failure. So if you were a betting man, what would you bet on? If you saw the FDIC video and then 2 weeks later, the EBA is issuing a release saying, hey, you need to put more transparency out there to let people know that this could happen. I mean, something to pay attention to, right? Something to be very, very cautious about. Maybe it doesn't make sense to keep 100% of your entire net worth inside of one bank. Maybe it makes sense to, keep a little bit of money at home, maybe for a month or two worth of living expense. Maybe it makes a little sense to just have options, right? Options are going to be key going forward because you just don't know what's going to happen. I mean, if you were to predict what would have happened the last 3 years, I mean, you would have been called a crazy person, right? Absolutely crazy person, never would happen. But here we are, right? Last 3 years have been a wild ride, and it looks like this ride is just beginning. Beirut, for example, this just came out February 16th. Beirut, banks set all right as anger over economic collapse deepens. Beirut protesters set fire to banks, smashed windows, and blocked roads in the Lebanese capital on Thursday as public anger over the country's deteriorating economy deepened, with the local currency plunging to a new low against the dollar. The decision by the Association of Banks in Lebanon to close all branches further angered citizens and depositors already facing restrictions on withdrawals. The move came as the Lebanese pound fell to a record low of 80,000 to the dollar. I mean, they brought police, firefighters, they brought everyone out there trying to bring down the riots, right? To try to calm everything down. They were lighting everything on fire. It was getting crazy, right? Just as you would imagine, if you had your money in a bank and situations started to unfold, you would bet that it would probably get carried away pretty quickly. And for example, there was a Bank of America Zelle situation that unfolded here about 4 weeks ago, right around the same time as the FDIC video, where people couldn't get their money out of the bank inside of a certain location, inside of a certain branch, and they were saying that the balances that were showed to them is not true and reflective of the real balance. And apparently there was a glitch that was impacting many users, or many customers. Argentina savers drown under spiraling prices as inflation hits 99%. Buenos Aires, Argentina inflation rate has hit just shy of 100%, the government said on Tuesday, with savers feeling more pain from some of the world's fastest rising prices and workers' budgets straining as cost outstrip salaries. The South American country, which has battled spiraling prices for years, saw monthly inflation speed up 6% in January in line with forecasts, while annual figure hit 98.8%, the highest since hyperinflation in the 1990s. Look at Venezuela. Consumer prices rose 37.2% just from November, right, inside of a month, heightening the risk of returned to hyperinflation, according to the estimates by the Venezuela's Finance Observatory, a non-governmental group of economists. Private inflation estimate is key since Venezuela's central bank, which in October said annual inflation hit 155%, one of the highest rates globally, has not released consumer price data since then. You look at Turkey as well. Turkey, they have a huge inflation problem. Sri Lanka, they're at 53.2%. So you connect the dots. You look at America, they're warning of this FDIC situation. You look at Europe, the European Banking Authority put out that statement letting people know about bail-ins. You start to look at Venezuela, Argentina, Turkey, Sri Lanka, you start to connect the dots. You connect the dots, the world's getting much, much more expensive. There's so much more debt inside of the system, and we're going to start to see a situation in which paying back this debt is not going to be possible. And then you start to look at overseas, what's happening, this Russia situation. There's so many situations that are happening so often that the odds of this not unfolding over the next few years seems somewhat unlikely. Am I saying this is going to happen tomorrow? No, I'm not. But what I am saying is that we're moving into the direction of this reset, right? We are moving into the direction of this reset. Nigeria's Naira Shortage, anger and chaos outside of banks. People in Nigeria have taken to sleeping outside banks. They want to be among the first in line to get those notes from the cash machine once it's loaded. A lack of newly designed Naira notes has led to a cash shortage and a growing sense of anxiety among the desperate to get a hold of their money in the country where 40% of the population does not have a bank. I have not eaten today, says he's 36 as he stands in front of two checks at the bank, a district in the country's main commercial hub. He has had to miss work at a construction company for a second day because he does not have the cash to pay for a taxi fare. Some Nigerians have embraced digital payments, but many still have not. I do not have any cash. I have to skip breakfast because they're pushing the CBDCs there, and they're not taking to it. So things are getting out of control over there. But the whole thing's pretty fascinating too. If you look at where bail-ins were formed, how they became, to where they are now, bail-ins were signed into law July 21st with Frank Dodd, July 21st, 2010. And who was the president then? Right? So, interesting. July 21st, 2010. This came out of Fortune magazine. A major hedge fund just warned that hyperinflation could lead to a global societal collapse, and it blames the central bank. You got to ask yourself, okay, they're blaming central banks. What are central banks doing right now? Maybe they think that everything is fine. Maybe they think that, everything's going to just continue to move along and this won't be an issue. But when you look at their actions, they're buying gold at record levels. Central bank gold buying spikes 152%. Central banks bought the most gold on record last year. China is buying gold. Are you? Gold demand surged to an 11-year high in 2022. Colossal central bank buying drives gold demand to decade high. Why is central banks buying gold? You look at all these, is gold in your 401k? It's not as crazy as it sounds, right? You start to look at what central banks are doing. Central banks are hoarding gold, right? And then you start to look at even the BRICS countries. You start to see the authority getting stripped away from the global reserve currency. This is happening so quickly. And so as this begins to happen, I think this whole financial system could come down like a house of dominoes, or dominoes, house of cards. This situation is happening pretty quickly. And as they throw out these buzzwords, and they've been talking about this for the last 2 years, they've even have these events every single year where they're preparing for this situation, warning of all these situations, right? But if you just look at, and I'll do this right now, you just look at what's happened just over the last, let's say, couple days. Overseas deliveries, post offices after, right? They're saying post office, Coinbase employees fall for this. Delta derivatives market still hit by fallout due to this. But this is starting to become much, much more common. Google reveals alarming surge, right? And this is again, they're saying this is against Ukraine, right? So this whole thing is moving into a situation. Royal Mail resumes overseas mail post offices after this. This is all today and yesterday. 2 days ago is the oldest thing here. So that's how I think this whole thing is going to play out. As the economy, everything starts to go down, we're going to start to see more and more of these situations unfold. And I think it's going to be a matter of time until we start to see the big one, which could potentially be bail-ins, unfold. U.S. home sales post 12th straight monthly decline. House price inflation cools. What do you think about this? And again, I mean, like, they're already admitting that 2% inflation is not going to happen. They said the Fed wants 2% inflation, but the economy may be fine with higher inflation. They're not getting 2% inflation. They're not getting 8% inflation. We're getting probably real inflation numbers in America are double digits, no doubt about it. You look at any of your bills, you look at anything that you're spending money on, I guarantee it didn't go up 2%, 3%, 5%, 6%. It probably went up 25 or 30% over the last year or two, right? Everything is getting much, much more expensive. They realize that we're not getting to a 2% inflation. We're moving into this inflationary world, and we're stepping into this bail-in situation I think could be a reality for America, for Europe, for the whole global financial system. But what do you think about this? I'm not trying to scare anybody, but like when you look at these videos, when you look at what they're saying, when you look at what's happening in the European Banking Authority, what they're saying, when you just start to look at other countries all over the world, I mean, we're moving into a situation in which we're walking into a world of problems. Just look at what happened in America over the last, let's just call it 2 weeks. Ohio, you had 2 derailments in Texas, right? You had South Carolina, you had a derailment there. You had one in Michigan, you had a derailment there. You had nonstop fires all throughout the country. You have all these situations that are unfolding, and this is just, the last 2 weeks, and this is just in America. This doesn't factor in any of the other problems that we're stepping into and that we're dealing with in this country, right? We're stepping into a different type of world where instability and chaos is going to be much more likely than a stable, easy type of economic environment in which is just easy to grow and prosper. That's why I've always been, I've been very, very bullish on just getting out of consumer debt and putting yourself in a really strong position financially, giving yourself options. These are all things that are going to pay huge dividends and huge yields to those that are prepared. What do you think about it? Drop below, hit the like button, subscribe here, and subscribe to my second channel. It's an interactive call and show and a podcast. If you know fixing your credit, we'd love to help you at GreatCreditFast.com. Give us a call at 561-430-5900.